Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Well, yesterday afternoon, Democrats and Republicans reached an agreement on a CR that will keep the government open until November 17th. And with a strong bipartisan vote of 77 to 19, the Senate agreed to move forward last night on this legislation. It shows that in the Senate, both parties can work through our differences for the betterment of the country. But in the House, Republicans have tried everything but bipartisanship. Last night, the Speaker twisted himself into pretzels, yet again trying to avoid his responsibility of governing. But this is the truth. Every bill House Republicans has pushed have been partisan, every CR has been aimed at the hard right, and every path they've pursued to date will inevitably lead to a shutdown. Speaker McCarthy, the only way out of a shutdown is bipartisanship. And by constantly adhering to what the hard right wants, you're aiming for a shutdown. They want it, you know it, you can stop it, work in a bipartisan way like we are in the Senate, and we can avoid harm to tens of millions of Americans. Bipartisanship is precisely what we have been pursuing here in the Senate. We haven't agreed on everything, and there's still a lot more work to be done. But we haven't let our differences paralyze us. And the result has been a common sense, bipartisan, sensible approach for a CR. It will keep the government funded at current levels until November 17th. It will extend the Federal Aviation Administration until December 31st. It will replenish the Disaster Response Emergency Fund to help communities battered by natural disasters. It will continue paying federal firefighters. It will extend funding for community health centers, the National Health Service Corps, and other health care programs. And it will send more help to our friends in Ukraine. Thank you to my colleagues who negotiated this bill in good faith. Thank you to Chair Murray and Vice Chair Collins and all the staff on the Appropriations committees who worked all day and night through the weekend. And thanks to Leader McConnell and the many, many Republicans who worked with us and joined us in passing this or in moving forward on this bipartisan CR. Now, there's still much more work to do. Now that we're on the bill, it will require consent and cooperation to move it swiftly through the chamber. We cannot have members trying last-minute delay tactics and risk a shutdown. The CR agreement the Senate has released is a good, sensible, and bipartisan, let me emphasize bipartisan, bill. It's a bridge towards greater cooperation between the chambers and away from the paralyzing extremism we've seen in the House. And a reckless shutdown will serve no purpose except for hard-right partisans whose only goal is to grind the gears of government down and promote extremism. It will cause grave harm for communities across the country. A reckless shutdown will cause grave harm to our border. It will affect our military by withholding their pay. It will disrupt everything from food safety inspection to TSA operations to small business loans. This is the problem with MAGA extremism. It's not serious about governing. Chaos is the only word in their playbook. Conflict seems to be their natural state of being, and some of them seem to exult in shutting down the government. And if MAGA Republicans get their way, the danger for this country will be great. Extremism will be dominant, the ultra-rich will be empowered, working families will suffer, women's health care will be even more curtailed. We don't want to go down that troubling road. The Speaker should resist the 30 or so Republicans who want to drag us in that direction, and he can do it by giving bipartisanship a chance, just as we are doing here in the Senate. Now, on safer banking. This morning, as we speak, the Banking Committee is holding a markup on our bipartisan Safer Banking Act. Today's markup of safer banking represents a huge step forward in the Senate's effort to help cannabis businesses operate more efficiently, more safely, more transparently. I worked long and hard to get to this point with Chairman Brown, Ranking Member Scott, And a special thanks to Senators Merkley, Daines, Lummis, Sinema, and Reed, because I thank them for their cooperation as well. It's been a goal of mine since we started the Senate to move forward on this legislation, since we started this session of the Senate to move forward on this legislation. And the good news, the Safer Banking Bill is about to be reported out of committee with strong bipartisan support this morning. I will bring once it's reported out of committee, I will bring Safer Banking to the floor for a vote as quickly as possible. For too long, cannabis businesses have been forced to rely primarily on cash transactions, no credit or debit cards. Dealing only in cash stifles these businesses' growth, opens them up to so many risks, makes them easy targets for theft, robbery, and other crimes. No industry has the ability to thrive if they can't access banking infrastructure, especially not an industry that's growing as quickly and is as new as the cannabis industry. Congress has always been in the business of promoting entrepreneurs, promoting small business, promoting job growth. We should continue doing so with the cannabis industry. Our Safer Banking Act will connect cannabis businesses, especially ones in minority and underserved communities, to traditional financial resources like bank accounts and small business loans, creating a safer and more transparent environment for the industry to grow. I'm also committed to including criminal justice provisions like Hope and Graham in safer banking. I've long advocated for expungement of records for cannabis offenses, and with safer banking moving through the committee in a strong bipartisan way, now is the time to get it done. So again, I thank my colleagues on both sides for their work on this legislation, which has been an effort years in the making. And once it's reported out of committee, I will put safer banking on the floor for a vote very soon. I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.